Do You See Me, it really allows us to think a little bit more about the possibilities.
Who does this me refer to?
I think of it as like my two identities responding to the theme.
Does it refer to myself as an individual, or the space, or the people around me, or even Singapore as a whole?
Do You See Me is a powerful call to give space, time, and empathy to voices that are often unheard and stories often untold.
Do You See Me then becomes this like two-way street of trying to connect the audience to the artwork and the artwork to the audience, as well as like the wider society that these people are part of, right?
It invites us to connect deeper with a human experience. Through the Looking Glass is an immersive, sensorial, and accessible installation with live performances to activate the space. It invites audiences to experience my distorted and tunnel vision, which can be disorienting at times, and the fleeting moments of clarity that I get from the stories of different communities around me. They are real, current life experiences that have shaped my perspective of the world.
Yeah, this piece of work, I want to let the audience to compare the nature forest and man-made forest are different. Because I create a space in this tropical forest, because the site is big, so people can walk through, interact with the sculpture. We can think about what we have been lost due to the deforestation. So this is awareness of the changing landscape in Singapore.
The artwork is named Kala Chakra because I was very much obsessed with this idea of how museums, galleries, and archives, they actually serve as a way for societies to keep time, and it documents like the progress that we've gone through, as well as like how people's thinking and aspirations and dreams have shifted as time has progressed. And so I wanted the artwork to really respond to this idea of it physically being housed in an archive, in a library, and having all of these things feed back into how the conceptualization of the artwork was formed.
She was mainly inspired by the natural world around her, and also by the human condition and the conflict that resides within that. She said something very interesting where she mentioned that we should not only be looking at how to save the world, but also the human being as well.
It's based on chaos, as in like chaos that you get from physics that's made from feedback, and it's creating a kind of an organism that almost moves on its own, and it's the kind of feeling that I was going for.
I was quite inspired by the theme of the Light Tonight, which is Do You See Me? I find that this is a very thought-provoking question that people can actually see in different levels and different perspectives. I wanted to embody the same open-endedness in my phrases that I choose. Phrases like, do you see me? Do you remember me? Where do we go from here? And basically, it serves as a contemplative guide for how the audience can experience the space, and to create like this meditative space for us to be more introspective and more aware of our surroundings.
Being in the graffiti industry for quite some time, most of the time, graffiti artists are not really exposed to the public. The public will see the works, but they don't know who the artists are. So I wanted to showcase this. Using the title, Now You See Us, is in a way for them to know, okay, this work is by this artist, this work is by this artist.
The intention of this work is to mimic the grass cutting activity that we tend to see on a daily basis but often overlook. And it also talks about the precision in which we apply to the upkeeping and how we manicure the landscapes and nature around us.
Jafar Latif started off as a traditional batik artist, and the motifs that he would have used would have been flora and fauna, very traditional kind of batik motifs. But he went ahead and experimented with abstract forms in his work, and also more expressive brushstrokes, which eventually became his own very expressive and unique style. He also experimented with digital art when it was very much in its infancy. And in his digital art, right, you can also see the expressiveness that is very inherent in his batik paintings.
Inspiration is because I love traveling. And then when I travel, of course you can see nature, and I travel to many countries like Southeast Asia. All this country is very rich in culture. So when I went to all this country, I can feel very strong emotionally to do artwork. I'm a very feeling artist. When I feel something, I like to create. I will try to express in my work.
So for Fever Dream, the artwork at Padang Asian Corridor, it's a very big body of a collage artworks that I made when I was down with COVID in 2021. Making collages was a way for me to express how I feel about getting COVID and the uncertainty of the pandemic days. Giving myself this chance to work with my hands was a very meaningful time for me, even though I was very sick. For Return to Paradise, it's situated at the Funan Underpass, so it's a place where a lot of people pass by. I want to draw things that people see and they remember. Mostly things from the places that I grew up with, such as Big Splash, Queenstown Cinema, Escape Theme Park. I think these are places that are actually long gone from our collective memory.
When Singapore become the independent, we celebrate at the Padang. I joined the school team dancing at the Padang. These are my first memory about the Padang. Now I got the other chance to put a piece of sculpture at the Padang. It also different kind of meaning for me.
So I was assigned Victoria Theatre and Victoria Concert Hall. I'm very happy with it. It's obviously a very historical building, and also a building that I think many Singaporeans are familiar with. Watched quite a few things here as well.
For this Light Tonight festival, I created this installation using lights. I am basically transforming a walkway, something that is very familiar and mundane, into something that challenges them to reframe how they view public spaces. I'm basically inviting them to slow down, be more aware of their experience and perception, and to realize the potential behind shared space and how it could potentially emerge as a form of discovery of the self and of the space around us.
This would be the largest, like physically the largest artwork I've ever made. And just having to deal with this sense of scale has been something that left a lasting impression on me as I was developing this work on the rotunda's underside.
Our current work responding the artwork from 3 legendary Singaporean artists, which is Mr. Goh Beng Kwan, late Jafar Latif, and Chng Sok Tin. So our work basically responding their artwork and make it into the animation, which responding the National Gallery of Singapore facade.
Blade Shrapnel is actually my first work across the Padang and Empress Lawn that has a performative quality to it. Because it's a festival that has most of its activities and programming scheduled and designed to be carried out at night, it does have its own set of quality and challenges that I think is expected from an artwork. And I think this is the kind of challenge that I enjoy thinking about and working towards in response to the different nature and characteristics of different festivals.
I cannot help but quite excited. It's amazing because I never realized, oh, my work can turn into this sort of light tonight. Wow, it is quite incredible. At night, at this beautiful National Gallery, where so many people can see my work. Plus the music, people want to look at the beautiful building. Of course, I was very grateful to all this staff and people to create all these difficult things for me.
What is interesting about Mr. Go artwork is how he see ordinary thing and make it into the painting, which is extraordinary. Like for example, there's a artwork named Bali Scenery. Basically, it's just a scenery from Bali, Indonesia, which is I'm from Bali, Indonesia, and it is interesting to see Indonesia from his perspective.
It has been a collaborative process of open communication and deep trust for my team. And as a disabled artist, I think I'm limited in many, many ways. But this process has allowed us to share resources, expertise, and the work has grown in ways that I never could have imagined on my own. This work is built on research, dialogue, and a collective desire to give voice to marginalized communities.
Words, the video itself comprises actually of 8 different texts and accompanying visuals and music. Everyone can find something that they can relate to. You know, whether the text itself is about global conflict or digital anxiety or corporate speak, and all the weasel words and all the fine prints that we have to read. I feel that what I wanted to achieve with the entire video is to, just have like a 15-minute stretch in which the words, the visuals, the music are just coming really bluntly, directly at the visitor, but also to make it seductive with a lot of colors and a lot of movement. It's like swiping your Instagram feed. It's just constantly trying to suck you in. The soundtrack itself is really noisy. And I think generally in my own work, it's sometimes almost too subtle for people or too ironic, but this time I've kind of like turned it up to 11, gone heavy metal, and with like really, really glitchy, aggressive visuals, as well as a very noisy soundtrack.
With Color Chakra specifically, I was working quite closely with AI to produce the visuals. And there is a certain degree of trial and error because what I want might not always be what the machine understands me to want. I want the audience to really come across and think about AI not as like something that is out to replace creative labor, but something that can actually contribute towards productive creative labor and something that can elevate the type of works that as artists we are already able to do and be able to do even better or in new ways that hasn't been fully explored yet. A great deal about like how this artwork comes alive is also because of its like sensitivity to the progression of time, right? So everything is actually highly dependent on how time moves forward. So as people continue to interact with the work evolves, and then that evolution of the work also feeds back into how new people respond into it. So as time beats on, then the work continuously evolves.
When we went about to create an animation that talks about her life as an artist, using all these artworks that we have, we had to somehow do it in a way where we are able to tell her story in a manner that is both artistic but entertaining as well, and that allows the audience member to maybe have a retrospective look of what it was like for her.
When they gave us the artwork of Cheng Sok Tin, they also tell the story not only about the artwork itself, but the story of Cheng Sok Tin background and how she worked as an artist, what's her background story. And that's what enriched the animation and the output of our artwork as well.
I would say that this particular animation would dwell deeper into Cheng Sok Tin's struggle as an artist. So there's a very human aspect to that, and a very raw and real sort of story to be seen in that particular animation.
She plays with many figures, which is very interesting because the challenge is to put the figure into the animation first thing first, and then to put in the National Gallery of Singapore facade as well into the immersive animation. That is really challenging, and I think the interesting features of the artwork.
I never experienced the inflatable material before. This is why I take this chance to try. And this piece of work we display at the Padang and easy access to the audience during the art festival. When people walk through the forest, can feel about the large scale of the sculpture. It's very different from the small scale sculpture. At night, you can see the lighting moving around the sculpture. It could be quite interesting. And I want people to, when they enjoy the sculpture and think about our environment. So we need to protect our nature because it's very important for our living.
It's a collaboration between myself, 10 artists from the pioneer scenes, some are the current scenes, and also from the up-and-coming scenes. I didn't want to prohibit them into following a certain theme because I want them to create the pieces that best represent themselves. Looking at how the art industry has evolved now, I wanted to introduce newer technology into my practice. So that's where Metamo Industries came about. So Metamo Industries is a collective that does digital artworks, like projection mapping, 3D printing, and 3D mapping. We work together towards creating an artwork. Each of them submitted their own pieces, and then we had Metamo to help animate the artworks and then help to project it onto the facade.
It was very important for us that we ensure that Jafar Latif's unique style as an artist, the vibrancy of his colors and the free-form motifs that he used in his work were imbued into the animation, so that when people look at the animation and they look at his artworks, they will still recognize that this animation is a tribute perhaps to Jafar Latif's work as an artist.
I think the style that he has also already very distinct. When you see it, you will understand like this is Jafar Latif artwork because he played with the pattern and the exploration of it. He played with many layers. So what we do is we try to understand how he put the works in traditionally and how we transform it into the animation. I think that's also become a challenge for us. For example, how to put the figure in the specific part of the building and an animation.
Good thing about the light projection as an art form is it's basically an animation. By using Jafar Latif's artwork, you are able to see almost in a linear manner his growth as an artist. You'll be able to see how he started off and how he found his footing in terms of like what kind of unique style he wanted, and also moving on to his experimentation with digital art.
The collaboration is very nice and went nicely because we do back and forth discussion with the festival committee and the estate. They give us some many insight of the works. Projection mapping is not only about the visual but also audio-visual experience. So how to integrate the animation and the sound as well. We also use the sound effect. Is what enriches the projection mapping works. And also the last part is, I think, to add the sound effect on it, so that, for example, maybe there's an effect that will be enriched by putting the sound effect on it. It will be a very new and enriched experience for the audience.
Being a regular attendee of going to Light Tonight for the previous years, I'm actually quite excited to work with this Light Tonight, and it's also my first outdoors art installation. It's really like a dream come true, being able to contribute to the narrative. It had come with some unique set of challenges, mainly like the practical constraints and challenges of working in an outdoor environment. But I also took this as a very good learning opportunity for myself. I'm quite excited about inviting people to reflect and to explore this connection of the public spaces and what it means to them. And I really hope that it inspires them. And I can't wait to see how the audiences would react to my artwork.
Grass cutting is actually a daily activity that's carried out across the island, but it is also something that a lot of us fail to observe or to have a closer look at what goes on behind it. And I think this is an important part of the landscaping efforts that we maintain in Singapore. During the festival, the audience actually do have that opportunity to go up closer to the grass cutters and to really have a feel of the sound, the smell, and the intensity of how a regular grass cutting activity would feel like and look like. The experience of being able to just smell the gasoline fumes and to hear the motor from the grass cutters is very important because this is also something that I think many people tend to steer away from when the actual activity is being carried out.
This can make people think about the simple object can be very interesting, can be very beautiful. These are the way of seeing things and the way of recreating called creativity process for the artwork. It is a meaning want to convey.
I feel like having a show like Light Tonight is an opportunity to showcase artists' works, and it helps the community in itself if I were to be able to promote the rest of the artists as well. I hope the audience will be able to see the potential of graffiti. I'm not only showcasing the history, the present and the future, and it's also about how graffiti can move forward with the inclusion of technology into the works. Maybe it can be projected onto a building, probably it can be projected onto a three-dimensional sculpture, the next. We see how it goes. There's a lot of potential to work with. So that's one of the things, the main things I want the audience to take away from.
In many ways, I think my role or my job is to find the stories that should have been told but might not have always had the opportunity to be told, right? Be it like very large and grand narratives or even the really mundane and small stories of just everyday life. To honor these stories that might not necessarily always be the most glamorous thing, but give them avenues and opportunities to just like peek out and say hi every now and then.
With these two artworks, I feel like they can be engaged independently because they look so different. But I feel like the takeaways are also very different as well. Maybe some people will enjoy the illustration because they see things that they remember. But for Fever Dream, it is a bit more personal, and I feel like people might engage more with the tactile nature of that kind of artwork.
I would hope that the audience members, taking into account our theme of Do You See Me, they will be able to see that anybody or everybody in fact has their own struggles, but it's how you respond to it that actually matters. So just like Cheng Sok Tin, she had her challenges and the adversities that she had to go through, but she chose to push through and came out even better from that struggle.
We aim to offer the audience a new experience in enjoying or appreciating Jafar Latif artwork. And what if we put it in the immersive medium, which is projection mapping in the National Gallery of Singapore? Yeah, I think that experience will offer a new way in appreciating the artwork of Jafar Latif.
Looking back at Jafar Latif's career as an arts educator and how he mentioned that he wants to make sure that his students are able to perceive beauty around them. So it is my hope that the audience, by looking at the animation and learning a little bit about Jafar Latif's philosophy, they will also be able to look around them and perceive beauty in any situation that they may be in.
能够参与这个项目，感到很荣幸。毕竟这个是我有生以来 第一次能够做这样的一个活动，感觉到很不可思议。为什么我的画能够在那个墙壁上出现在一个晚上的时间，给这么多人看到我的作品，真的非常震撼，非常的了不起的一件事情。在我有生之年有这样的一个参与，是很值得庆幸的一件事情。所以我希望此后如果再有机会，我很相信能够再参与这样的一个活动，非常了不起，非常感恩，谢谢。
I'm very happy and very proud to be involved in a project like this.
It's a deeply personal exploration and journey of discovering resilience, belonging, and identity. And with each artist, they represent a different stage of self-discovery, reflection, reclamation, reconciliation, acceptance, and integration, all of which are universal experiences. I've always believed that stories serve as a medium and a bridge between individual and community, and this has been a journey of transforming abstract emotions into something tangible, a sensorial experience for the audience to feel in a visceral way. I hope audiences will leave with a deep understanding of how perspectives shape perception and its impact on individuals, and with a commitment to listening more, seeing more, and connecting more in their everyday lives.